get my life together, can't you understand? Steady praying to God.
Yeah, what's happening? Homegrown Community Podcast. You already know what it is. Brian Stricklin, also known as Born, in some circles known as Coach Strick or Coach B, but for the purposes of this podcast, I'll be Born. We're at DRL Tunes Design Studios here in Greensboro, North Carolina, and this is the relaunch. And, of course, you know the theme over the past 2 episodes has been Celebrate the Team, and that's what we're on. We're into giving our people their flowers while they're living. We want to celebrate them while they're alive, and we want to convey and communicate what has evolved to be this network called TMG. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring one of the most integral, vital pieces to the development of this whole operation, and that's my son, Donovan Stricklin. Yeah, also known as ShotbyDonn in some circles, and in the music space is known as DonnBe.Cookin. Ain't that right, Tunes? Yeah. Shout out to my guy, DRL Tunes, on the camera. But celebrate the team, and this is the next generation that we have in front of us. So I wanted to break this little segment down to kind of go back in time to when we did the original podcast with Tumani Johnson. Shout out to Tumani. His company was FX Media at the time, but that's no longer, so I don't know what the name is, but Tumani was happening. We brought Donovan, we first launched the podcast originally in around 2020. 2020, pandemic year. And you were a student at Greensboro Day.
Yeah.
And at that time, we were doing like the Zoom call thing and showing
Zoom
it.
Podcast.
So we brought you in through the Zoom platform, and we were offering perspectives from the youth because we were talking about how the pandemic had affected the students, the kids. And like I said, you were at Greensboro Day at that time. You were playing basketball for Coach Johnson. You were also into photography and I think you were doing with the chorus or whatever like that, choral.
It was mainly photography. I had just got into it. That was like the first time I took a class for it.
That's right.
So that was around the time where that seed was first planted for real.
Okay, cool, because you know where I'm going, where the seeds were planted at Greensboro Day with photography with Miss J.A.
Yeah.
And talk about that with a dark room.
That was that class photo one. We didn't even really touch a digital camera till like the last week or two. It was like, we made our own pinhole cameras. We had to have film cameras. We had to learn how to develop film to see like where that stuff really came from, where it started. So that's where I got my background without even picking up a digital camera yet or learning how to use a digital camera. I first learned what it was like to, develop film and use film cameras. So.
That's what's up, man. And I think that's so critical. It's amazing because how these episodes are starting to kind of like tie into one another. My whole concept in the beginning was, man, listen, I need to, celebrate my folks, man. I got a really dope team, you feel me? So, I got some really knowledgeable people and some real fly dudes that surrounded me, helping me to look good. But they don't get the credit sometimes because they typically work behind the scenes. And the seed that was planted for you to do what you do ties into what we had on last time with Tunes about education. Yeah. Like how my people perish for a lack of knowledge. They don't get the exposure, they don't get the knowledge, then subsequently they don't get the advance, they don't get the growth, they don't get the development. You, on the other hand, have been on an academic track like none other. Starting at Westchester Country Day School in the days of your early years, moving on to the space over at Wesleyan where you got your first opportunity to get a Christian education, experience. Yeah. And then you moved over to Greensboro Day where you got exposed to a greater level of curriculum and exposure from the basketball space as well as the academic and artistic space, which to your point about the photography. And we talked about that around the time on the original podcast. Now we're up to where we are now, and you're still making moves. That's crazy. So back to the education piece. You're now a student at Hopper University, right?
Yeah.
And from the time that you picked up the camera at Greensboro Day, how did you move over into the creative space in terms of your evolution from pinhole photography to digital photography to now, we'll get into the music producing and the videography part?
It's been a long journey. Starting, like you said, starting with at Greensboro Day where the seed was first planted. Then actually after that, I didn't really like tap back into it for a while. Probably for a couple of years, I was focused on basketball, and I didn't I was interested in it, but I didn't really pursue it yet. But then when I got to Wesleyan my junior year, I met Josh Harris. Shout out to Josh, one of my biggest mentors when it comes to the creative space. And I took a class of his really as an elective to pass time because I had a tough schedule in my junior year, so I wanted a class that was easy.
Yeah.
But I ended up falling in love with photography and just the whole art of telling stories with pictures and videos. So I started taking pictures, but he's a videographer mainly, so I would watch him or he'd tell me about what he was doing, and I fell in love with just the art of storytelling. I think that's my biggest niche or skill set when it comes to videography. I'm not a big effects guy. I can do it, but I really like to tell stories, and so that's kind of how that transitioned from photography to videography to where I'm at now.